Hi everyone, Richard here again at Calvin Wazoo, bringing you another video, and this one is an entry or a contribution to a contest. It's a contest, but it's kind of not a contest. It's also an expression of gratitude by Steve Carlson, at his channel. Many of you know Steve's channel and are aware of the great videos that he does with his discussion about the music that he listens to and that he finds. I've got so many great recommendations from him, and you may also know about what happened to him roughly a year ago. And but I'll go through a little bit because there are people who watch my channel who I know probably don't know about Steve Carlson. And I guess one of the reasons I found Steve, well, two things. He lives in the Sanford, Michigan area, which is near Midland, Michigan. And I was born and raised. I lived in Midland, Michigan until I was 14. And then my family moved. And I know about Sanford and Sanford Lake and Wixom Lake. These are two lakes that are created by two different dams on the Tittabawassee River. Sanford Lake, there was a park, a county park, I think, or something, that we would go to for swimming. And this was upstream on the Tittabawassee River. So while the river was very muddy and dirty, it wasn't like badly polluted. I mean, there was probably lots of runoff from, agriculture, but it wasn't until it got to Midland and then it was flowing by Dow Chemical and then also the Chippewa River, which was coming from Mount Pleasant, and it flowed past an oil refinery for many years. So these rivers were they were not the poster children of the Clean Water Act, let's say. Anyway, as a kid we would go to Sanford Lake. I remember swimming in that lake. I remember that there were these like stumps out from the beach, and as a kid I could go out in the water and stand on top of the stumps. Actually it was kind of dangerous because the water was dirty enough you couldn't see. So if you were careless and you dove, head into the water, you could hit your head on one of these stumps and drown. And then further upstream was the Wixom Dam. There's Wixom Lake. I remember going ice fishing with my dad to that lake when I was like 5 years old, and even though my poor little feet were like freezing cold, it was a good time. I enjoyed the ice fishing, on the lake, and that. So I knew about the area, and then last year, both of the dams failed. I believe there was some heavy rains, and that contributed to a lot of pressure on these dams, but they failed. They broke. And these lakes were emptied, and the flooding was devastating. And Steve Carlson's home was among many homes that were heavily damaged by the floodwaters, and that included virtually his entire record collection is trashed. He was able to salvage some records, but then, he lost the covers. The covers were destroyed by the floodwaters, but the vinyl remained in decent enough condition that he saved some of them. But, it was a mess. And he gradually started to rebuild his record collection, but the vinyl community came in really strong to support him with the VCLT, the Vinyl Community Love Train. sending him records, to help him get, replace the ones that he lost, and also records to show him new artists and that. So he's having this contest as a hearty thank you to everyone in the vinyl community. He's got lots of prizes for lots of people because he wanted to give back to the community. And so he's asking us in the vinyl community to share our experiences both with VCLT and just with how others have, whether in or out of the community, have influenced our record buying, or perhaps, the VCLT given us records. And so that's what I'm doing. If you don't know Steve Carlson's channel, you should check it out. He's got the weekend Saturday morning show every weekend. Sometimes he does it on Sunday. And occasionally he'll do some videos during the week, but it's a regular weekend show, and check it out. All right, so enough with that introduction. So I've got some, I guess you could call it VCLT. A friend of mine and his partner were visiting last year, and they saw my record collection and were asking me about it. And they're from New York, from the city, New York City. And so he was saying to me, well, I've got some records that maybe you'll like. I'll send them to you. And I didn't hear from him for a long time. And then the records came in the mail, and there's 2 of them I'm going to show. He sent more than just 2. But the reason I'm going to show these is because they opened my eyes and ears to music I would not have considered on my own. For example, one of the records that I'm not going to show is a Thelonious Monk album. And I like Thelonious Monk, and I have several albums. So that was like nothing. I mean, I knew about Thelonious Monk. But one of the records was this one. Now, I know about Wynton Marsalis, all right? But my experience with Wynton Marsalis was pretty limited, and I actually kind of dissed him because I felt like he was a bit, I don't know, popish and commercial, That's how I viewed him. Now, I have some CDs by his brother Branford Marsalis, and I really enjoyed those. But Wynton Marsalis, that wasn't something that I was going to, on my own, consider. But he sent me this one, Black Codes is the album. And I took a look at it, and I thought, wow, okay. And then I listened to it. And I was like blown away. Just amazing composition. Plus, it's a great sounding recording. So it was mastered by Bernie Grunman. It was pressed at Palace, Germany. It's just a really incredible album. So if it weren't for my friend sending this, I would have continued to ignore Wynton Marsalis. Now, another record that came in that batch was this one, Comfort by Failure. I'd never heard of this. Who was Failure? I had no idea who this band was, and gave it a listen. And again, I was like, he said he had some punk. And I guess I am more inclined to call it post-punk kind of noise. But, nonetheless, this was a really wonderful VCLT gift from him. And this is not even considered their strongest release. Went checking on some other things. I haven't seen Failure show up in record stores much, but I am going to definitely be picking up some more when I see it. I mean, their other releases are like 4 or 5-star releases, and this one gets 3, and I think this is just a killer album. So yeah, that was a great turn on for me from that. Now, one time I was on it was a business trip. This was long ago, when we could, when we took business trips, right? It's been, when was this? It would have been, I think it was late fall 2019. So it was one of the final business trips, or maybe it was earlier than that, because now that I think about it, it wasn't that cold outside. Anyway, I was in Columbus, Ohio, and was with some colleagues. We were visiting. I work in the TV business, and we were visiting a TV station. And so during our time off, we were looking for a place to go eat. But I said, hey, I want to check out a record store. So we found this record store there in Columbus, kind of near downtown. I can't remember what it was. And so as I'm looking through records, one of my colleagues mentions, Rich, have you ever heard of the band Staat? And I found several albums, well, not several, I found like 1 or 2 Captain Beefheart albums that I wanted in this store. So I was picking them up. But yeah, as we were talking about different things, she mentioned this band, the Staat. And she said, oh yeah, they're from the Netherlands, and they include some Eastern European exiles or whatever, and she just raved about this band. So when I got home, I started looking up the Staat on YouTube and listening to their videos, and realized, this is good stuff. This is pretty interesting. But where could I find it? Other record stores that I would go to here in Chicago, and I'd ask the guys that run the store, no, we don't know them. Where are they from? Who are they? Haven't even heard of them. And then when I started looking through Discogs, I realized that there were not very many, if at all, when I looked, vendors in the U.S. that had albums by the Staat, and they had quite a few released already. Well, I found a vendor in Germany, and I ordered, got a little discount because I ordered more than just one album, and that helped with the shipping. It wasn't too awful at that time. So I got 3 records, all right, that I bought. And wow, they're good. So there's this is an early one. I can't remember if it's their first one. Machinery, all right, and very strong album. How do I describe them? It's kind of a little bit industrial, a little bit techno, a little bit, electronica, but lots of vocals and very nihilistic. So I kind of like that. And then I got this one also, the Staat Icon, which has a very cool label. And then that same order, this is a newer one, Bubblegum, which, I'm not sure if you can tell, but this is a lenticular cover. You can see how maybe it's shifting. It's a 3-sided double album set. Again, really, really good. So yeah, this colleague of mine, if she hadn't said anything, then I would never have known about this band. And it's still, there are a few others that I would like to get, but again, I'm going to need to order them from Europe because there are just not any U.S. vendors that I can find who have any of their records. So they don't get a lot of distribution over here in the U.S. I'm always checking to see, if they are, and then they're not always real cheap. But I'm finding that, record collecting is not a cheap hobby. So now another recommendation that I picked up in the vinyl community is from Stunty. That's the only name I know him by. His channel is Stunt Rock Confusion. And on a live stream one time, it was a live stream by Rachel, the Music Man. He was talking about this band, the Black Angels. And again, I went to YouTube and found a couple videos and listened to them. Very psychedelic, really amazing material. Their discography, from what I could gather, looks really strong also. But this was another record or band that I don't see very often. However, after hearing about them, it may have been like a week or so later, I was in a local record store and I went looking to see if they had any Black Angels, and they did. They had this one, which is one of their newer ones, called Death Song. Now, this is really very interesting. It's a double album, but this is really interesting. Black Angels, Death Song. And then you see it says The Black Angels, Death Song. And while the Black Angels have other records, this one, all the way down to even, the cover, is an homage to the Velvet Underground, who had a song that was called The Black Angels Death Song. So that was very, very cool. And this cover is like really, really wild and psychedelic. So yeah, getting another recommendation or hearing about another band from somebody, like Stunty. He's got, and this isn't in his normal wheelhouse, perhaps. If you're familiar with the channel Stunt Rock Confusion and what he listens to. But I tell you what, that was a solid recommendation. And again, a situation in which somebody else in the vinyl community turned me on to a new band. And not some old band from long ago, but one that is still making music. So there's my video entry for this. I hope you enjoyed. Hey, leave a comment in the Down Under. I will also look up the original video that Steve Carlson announced this contest. It does end, though, June 30th, the end of June. So there's like just, a couple days left to, hop on that. So you'd have to do something really quick if you haven't already. I've been putting this off for too long. But yeah, leave a comment in the Down Under. And if you've got any other interesting recommendations, maybe based on what you saw here, of items or bands that you think I might be interested in, hey, let me know. This is what the community is all about. Sharing our experiences with music, both literally sharing records with each other, but also just sharing, ideas and likes and dislikes. So always remember, though, to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.